In this video, I want to talk to you about how to draft a request for proposal for the appointment of a financial model auditor. Okay, let's start with a story. The story starts with a developer who is planning to develop a solar power project. She will hire some consultants to do some preliminary studies for her, and she's going to do some benchmarking, and eventually she's going to come up with a financial model for her project. And as the project progresses, as the due diligence progresses, then it will come the time when she has to go and meet with the financiers. She has to go and present her project to the lenders, to the bankers, to the other co-sponsors. So she's going to prepare a package and she's going to put together all the project documents, including the financial model, and she's going to send it to the bankers. So then it will start a series of question and answer on the financial model. The lenders are going to first look at the model mechanic, and once they are okay with the model mechanic, then they're going to challenge the assumptions that the sponsor presented. They're going to hire their own technical consultants to go over the technical assumptions, and they're going to discuss with the technical advisors of the sponsor. And throughout these Q&A sessions together with the financial modeler, at the end they're gonna actually agree on the model, and they're gonna agree on their base case model. Okay, then the next stage will be to basically hire a financial model auditor, which is an external consultant, an external company who will come. It's most of the time it is just prior to financial close. It's going to come and review the model, and it's going to make sure the model is okay in terms of the mechanic, and also in terms of the assumption that goes into the model. So that's what we want to discuss today, the process of hiring a financial model auditor. So the process starts first with drafting an RFP. It's basically a letter of invitation that you send to the accounting firms, and you ask them to basically see if they are interested to participate in your project as model auditor. Once you have prepared the RFP, then you're going to issue it, meaning that you're going to send it to these accounting firms, and you will receive their proposals. Some of them they might reject because it's not within their expertise or for whatever reason, and you will receive the proposal. Then what you need to do is to review these proposals, and based on your criteria, financial, technical, you're going to select one of the preferred bidders. So you will give yourself 5 to 10 days to renegotiate the contract with your preferred bidders. And if you come to an agreement, then you're going to sign the engagement letter, which is the contract, and you will proceed with the audit. However, if you don't agree with your preferred bidder, then you have your second best bidder that you can go and you start negotiating with your bidder. So what we want to discuss today is how to draft this request for proposal. Okay, so just to let you know that I have a blog post and also a sample of an RFP, typical RFP for a pre-financial close deal. I'm going to put it on my Eloquence channel, as well as the blog post is going to be on my website, www.phoenixmode.com. So there are things that I'm going to mention here that I didn't mention in my blog post, and vice versa. So let's talk about the typical sections of an RFP for hiring a financial model audit. So first of all, as I told you, RFP is a letter that you send to the auditor inviting them to come and work with you if they are interested, and submit their proposal. So the first section is the introduction, where you need to present yourself, who are you, and then you talk about your project, what the project is all about, all of them in brief, in like 1 paragraph, 2 paragraphs. And then in the introduction you can also put the key timeline, and also some general rules, like it should be in English or whatever, some general rules. Just go and look at the sample. I have a sample that I have that you can see what are the typical things to be included in the introduction for the RFP. The second section is basically, it should not be in the same order. It's just like typical things that are included in the RFP. So what the other section is the preparation for proposal of the proposal. So you're going to need to guide them on how do you expect them to submit their proposal. So most of the time you ask them to submit a separate technical proposal and then a separate financial offer or financial proposal, and then you're going to rank them based on the technical and the financial offer, and based on your criteria you're going to give a weight to the technical and another weight to the financial. I'm going to cover this in the next blog post, but just to let you know about this preparation of proposal and how you should guide them on what to include and what not to include in the proposal. Most of the time, what is mostly important here in the preparation of the proposal is to tell them about the format of the CV, because basically what is a financial model auditor is mainly the people that will come and do the audit. So they need to submit to you the profile of the people that's going to be involved with you, that are going to engage with you, that are going to audit your model. So you want to know and you want to make sure that these people, their expertise corresponds to what you are looking for. So you can ask them to submit their CVs in a certain format. You can even give them a template as an annex and tell them that please put the qualification in this format so that you can compare it easily in between different beats. So the most important one is, of course, the scope of work, or basically tell them about the technical offer, or basically tell them what you require from them. So basically the first thing that I think, the most important thing that I think needs to be included here, and surprisingly I don't see it in many of the RFPs. I have been reviewing RFPs for many years now, and rarely, or maybe I didn't see it at all, this section on the financial model. You are hiring people to do the audit of the financial model, so you need to explain to them what they are dealing with. It's like you are calling a garage and you are telling them, I want to bring my car for a check, and they will tell you, okay, so what do you want? I want a complete checkup of my car. And they're going to say, okay, so, and then you say, okay, so what's the price? They say $500. Okay, bring it in. And then they're going to bring in a Tesla. So the expertise needed for checking a Tesla is not the same as a normal car, and also the price. So I would say the first thing that you need to discuss and tell to the bidders is about your financial model. So you need to have a section. You tell them first of all mainly about the model mechanic. Tell them about the file size, the number of sensitivities that are included, the number of lines of macros included, and also anything else. If you're using any standards in your financial model, tell them that the model is based on the best practice financial modeling standards, so that they know that it's going to be easier to audit and they're going to take that into consideration in their fees and all that. So you have one section that you explain about the financial model, and then you're going to tell them what you expect them to do. I would say that these are just like, if you look at the RFPs, they're just, all of them basically look the same, because it's normal, unless there is something specific to your project in terms of tax or accounting or whatever, then you want to mention it here for sure. If not, there are just some typical, you want to check the model integrity, you want to check that the model assumptions are in line with the document, with the project document, especially the loan agreements, the EPC contracts, so all of them. So they need to cross-check. They will not say whether they make sense or not. That's not the job of the model auditor. The model auditor will not tell you that this assumption doesn't make sense. It's not their job. It's the technical advisor or the financial advisors who will do that. The model auditor will just go and check them with the project documents and make sure that they are in line with the project document. So they are not expected to do any benchmarking or anything on the assumptions. It's just to cross-check. And there is also, maybe you can even put a section in the contract about limitation or what you don't expect from them. But mainly you just tell them what you expect from them. So as I told you, these are the typical things. Check that the model is in line with the project documents. The model is mechanically works under the base case and under the sensitivity cases. And you already told them the number of sensitivities that you have in your model. Okay, and then after you are done with the work scope or the technical offer, you're going to tell them about the fee. Okay, so it's, of course, it is up to them based on the scope of work that you gave them. It's up to them to come up with a price, but you can ask them to give you some flexibility about, to give you a different option. Most of the time is the lump sum fee that they ask, but what is important is the number of iteration, that maybe in the scope of work you need to ask them that how many review do you need from them. Basically, during a pre-financial close, you need a minimum of 3 iterations. Minimum, I'm telling you, minimum of 3 iterations. First of all, you hire the auditors just when you think that everything, as I told you in the introduction with the story, we're going to hire the auditor when we are sure that, we are getting closer to the financial close. So you're basically okay with the framework of your financial model is not frozen completely, but if you are not expecting any structural changes to the model, mechanic at least. Assumption they might change, but you don't expect, really structural changes to the model. And it's at that time that you're going to hire the model auditor. So you're going to ask them for minimum of 3 iteration. 1 iteration, meaning 1 review, is when you send the model to them, and then 15 days, 10 days after that, you expect them to send you a report telling you about, as I told you, all the checks and all that. They will give you a preliminary review, okay? Once you receive that review, of course, in the contract or in this proposal and later in the engagement letter, you're going to mention that any question and answer, any video, conference call or any discussions about the report is not going to be counted as an iteration. That's very important, okay? Iteration is just when they're going to go over a new model version, okay? And you want to avoid that unless you are comfortable with the question and answer. So what is usually typical and what I usually do is that when I receive the preliminary report, I go over each and every question and I set up calls with the model auditor and I make sure I even take them through the changes I did in the model before even I send them the revised model to make sure that the changes that I did are in line with their understanding or with their requirement, so that we avoid losing 1 iteration, because we have a fixed minimum of 3 iteration, for example. So as I told you, so the first iteration is once you submit, once you sign the agreement. The second iteration is after you receive the preliminary review, and then by that time you should be okay. So you have already responded to all their questions, you have applied the changes they required, and you send them a second version of the model for the review. So at that point, you expect them to kind of just give you the green light and say, okay, everything is okay, and we are waiting for the financial close to basically sign off the financing documents, okay? And this is the point that you need the third iteration. The third iteration is just that you need the model auditor to be present during the financing, the negotiations of the financing document. And at financial close, you need their certification to say that, okay, this last version of the model, we're going to freeze it. I am okay with it as a model auditor for this project. We have gone through it. We have sent 2 reports, 1 preliminary report, 1 final report, and we are okay. And this model is frozen as financial close model for the lenders and for sponsors. Okay, so another thing that is important in an RFP is to tell them about the report, or what you expect from them is a report basically. Remember, the report that they're going to submit, the model auditor is going to submit to you, is one of the conditions. The final report is one of the conditions for financial close. So it is in the loan agreement that this report from the auditor is required before financial close. So that's why it is very important that you have a very efficient way to handle these question and answer with the model auditor, and how to respond with the model auditor very effectively and very efficiently, so that you don't cause any delay in financial close because you couldn't respond to the model auditor's request and changes, okay? So as I told you, these reports are important and are going to be contractual as part of the CPs for closing with the lenders. and you're going to tell them about that the number of report that you require from them, and the timeline maybe, and when these reports are required. You can tell them here. I don't expect, or I don't think it's efficient to give the auditors too much specification and requirement for the report, because it's their job. They know better how to write this kind of reports, and they know their job. So you just tell them that, listen, I need a preliminary report, and I also need a final report from you, and I also need you to be present during the negotiation with the lenders, and or the lenders require them to be there with them during the negotiations. And one more thing that you can again stress here, that any question and answer, any conference call, or any communication regarding the reports are not going to be included as iteration, and they're going to be available for maybe even traveling with you to missions to present the model, to understand the model. You're going to make sure that they have these they will be able to assist you in any ways that you require from them, and you can include them all in this section on the report. But as I told you, I have seen that some people, they give so many specification of what they want or what they don't want. They even put sometimes templates of how I want the report to look like. I would say that don't do that. Just let the auditors come back to you. And one thing that is good is maybe ask them for a sample. Tell them, in your offer, in your technical offer, please also provide a sample or an example of the report that you're going to submit to us. This way you're going to have an idea about what you're going to expect from them, or what they're going to send you if they are accepted as a preferred bidder. Okay, so we talked about the report. And the other section is about the evaluation procedure or the process. So you can also tell them briefly. I would say I have seen again two types. One is that they're going to slightly touch, and they tell them that they're going to tell in the RFP about the evaluation process in 2 or 3 paragraphs. We're going to evaluate you based on your technical offer and your financial offer. The technical offer will have this weight, the financial offer will have this weight, and that's how we're going to evaluate you. And I have seen RFPs where there was like 2 or 3 pages explaining in detail about how they're going to do the evaluation. And it's up to you how you want to correspond, you want to communicate with the bidder, how much information you want to give them. But it's also good to let them know that how you are evaluating them, so that they can basically report, provide you a better proposal based on your requirements. For example, if technical is more important for you than technical expertise is more important for you than the financial or the fee that they're going to ask, you can put them here, and then they're going to put more experts. They're going to put their high level experts in the proposal for you, because they are more expensive and they know that it's good for you. However, if they see that you are more concerned with the financial, with the fees, then they're going to give some junior position experts, and it's going to cost less, but they're going to have the junior and one maybe senior guy, helping out in the process. So it's going to help them to kind of come up with a better proposal that suits you. Okay, and I would say that it's also good to put a question and answer, typical question and answer, because if you are a company or if you are an institution that you have been dealing with a lot of bids, specifically on the model audit, so you have received some questions during the bidding process, and you see that this question come up frequently, so you can put it here. For example, how they're going to most of the information you should have already put them in the proposal, but however, it's also, it might be helpful to also put some frequently asked question in the RFP as well. Okay, so I have some additional notes here. Okay, so what I wanted to just, additional note here, you can go and read it, but what I want to say that, which is typical to any of these RFPs, is that you tell the bidders that if you incur any cost during the bidding process, we are not responsible for it. And again, I am also insisting that any question and answer is not going to be counted as an iteration. So as I told you, I have this blog post that explains, in detail about the RFP and the typical sections and the things to note during the RFP and when you're drafting the RFP. And I'm going to also have a sample that I'm going to upload on my Eloquence channel. You can go and also have a look at that. And in the next blog post, I'm going to talk to you about the selection process for selecting a financial model auditor. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you in my next video. Thank you and bye. If you want to learn how to build better financial models, check out my online course on financial model spreadsheet design at courses.phoenixmode.com.